That's what I'm trying to do now.
If you go to the D2 conference page on YouTube, you should find the stream. Hi, Alfie. Alfie just came to say hi. Hello. The whole
Yeah,
day you
that's
didn't want to be
YouTube.
with me, and
Is
now
it
that I'm
video?
doing the stream, you're here to say hi. Can you hear our voices?
Let me go to the channel.
Yeah, it looks like it's playing.
Live.
Yeah, and I can hear the sound as well.
All right. So, you know what? Without any further chit chat, Luis, why don't you do an introduction on the project of the gods? Because the idea of the stream is for us to give a little bit of help and inspiration to the artists that are thinking to join our challenge, which is the last challenge before the D2 conference in Vienna. Very exciting. And the person who's going to win this challenge is also going to get a free ticket to the D2. Boys, have you got your tickets for the D2? Pinocchio?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course.
I got three.
Such a bad liar. You're such a bad liar. Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna ask. Luis, why don't you share your screen, take the stage, and explain a little bit how this project came about and what was the inspiration, what was the idea behind it? You got 15 minutes. Go.
I got 15 minutes. All right, let's start first. We're opening up my collage page using companion mode, and someone needs to approve it.
Okay.
Ooh la la.
We got 7 people now.
7 people. Hello people. Hello people of Earth.
Seven people on the call.
Oh, on the call. Oh well.
Okay, so
Ignore the people of Earth.
I don't think anybody's watching the stream right now.
No, they shouldn't.
So we can truncate that starting bit.
Is there a way for me to maximize this?
To maximize the efficiency? Let me also open the narrative website, because I think there's a nice breakdown there. Anyway, so let's go work.
Luis, try to zoom in as much as possible because I'm streaming from a very tiny screen.
Luis, use the Behance one.
It's
scaled.
It's not the size of the screen, it's how you use it, my friend.
God.
You know what I mean? That's how we're gonna begin this stream. Okay, the old gods, Behance. Can we go into the actual? Okay, yeah.
Also, if I disappear at any point, my internet's been funny recently. It sometimes drops out. So if I'm gone, I'll be back. All right.
Calm down, Arnold. All right. So is that big enough? Is that proud enough on screen? So I think as far as I understand, this is what this challenge is about this time, right? A little project called The Old Gods. And to see what the community is going to do with the stuff that we put out into the world. And so far it's been quite exciting. But let me give you a little bit of background on the project. So this is a project that started, the inception of this pretty much started at the very beginning of the lockdowns, right? When we found ourselves for the first time, or at least in my case, for the first time in a very long time, with actual time to think and not be reactive, right? You, at least I found myself downstairs having a cigarette, listening to a particular song on Spotify called "Old Gods," and for some reason, the right time, everything sort of came together. Inspiration struck, the muse, whatever you want to call it, which is kind of appropriate for the thematic of this challenge, and images and words started coming to my head. Things like the hunter, the huntress, the warrior, this kind of stuff, and doing something in the universe of Greek mythology, perhaps, or these great archetypes that we tend to think about when we think of the age of heroes and that kind of stuff. Weird shit, I know, because that's how I grew up, right? I grew up with all these influences and all these I guess big thematic things. after that project sort of went quiet for a little bit because it was a great idea, but when it came down to implementing it, then as many ideas go, it kind of went into the back burner because I had other shit to do. And then it sort of resurfaced at the end of 2021, December 2021. And I found myself during the Christmas break with, once again, the strike of inspiration, revisiting that old concept of the old gods. And over that break, and also Robin started to do started to share some of his obsession about Greek statues and Greek busts and things. And he created this absolutely insane universal marble material. So I found myself without no excuse at that point in time to actually start designing 6 gods originally. So the first god that was designed was the huntress. And, she was quite important in that period because she was kind of the proof of concept, let's say, right? So figuring out what the language, the design language was going to be, what worked, what didn't work. Is the marble material working? Did I get the scale wrong? Because I absolutely did countless times, because I'm pretty useless when it comes to 3D, actually. But, this is kind of a little breakdown of how the process went designing these 6 gods. By the end of that process, when we actually came back into the studio at the beginning of 2022, I showed the guys, the ones that I wasn't sending these things to over the Christmas period, as I was hyper excited because this is something that I started to do. I did growing up. I love drawing and I love designing characters, and I thought I was going to be a concept artist or something along those lines. Boy, was I wrong. But it ultimately ended up here again, and there was some excitement around the table, and there was also a little bit of like what is he on about? So we found ourselves in a privileged looking back sort of position where we had about 3 months of not a lot of work coming in, finishing bits and pieces. And then that seemed like the perfect time to start this sort of incubation project, right? What can we do using the team we have, using these assets that were created, these gods, this theme? And the point, the reason I'm saying incubation and not R&D is because the way I define it, at least, and the way we sort of talk about it in the studio, the difference between incubation and R&D is incubation for us means we do all the research and development, but the ultimate goal is pushing ourselves out of the comfort zone and seeing what we can do. The ceiling kept getting pushed further and further up as we went on to do more things. We started with the characters, and then the classic thing was like, okay, we have these characters now. Let's do some renders. Let's do some sick renders of them. So let's pose them. Let's change the lighting. Robin created a little lighting rig, which we lovingly called the Giga Rig, and it's essentially like a 360 light dome. And using Corona light mix, we're able to bring in all those things, just focus on getting the camera and getting all the angles and stuff correct, at least for what we want to do. And then just going through light mix and ticking on and off all the lights until we get whatever mood we like. We throw fog in, and then, do the studies from portraits to sort of middle portraits of each character. And then at some point I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we actually did a bit of branding? Let's create the identity of the god. So then it's kind of going back to my roots as a graphic designer. If that were the case, then what would that look like? And then doing all the experiments of creating a branding identity. Going from 2D, then putting it into the world of 3D, and kind of exploring what the Marvel version of that would look like, the sort of Iron Man version, let's say. And then doing some animated tests of each one, finding out which one felt correct. On the flip side of that, then, because things were starting to move, we sort of asked ourselves a question. Okay, cool. We have these assets now. Can we do a little bit of something else with them? Can we start creating little sequences with them? And what does that mean? Are we going to end up making a film? Do we have the opportunity to make a film? And then we started looking at kind of in isolation originally, laying out a lot of things originally without much meaning, without much sense, right? Starting to implement a lot of the branding onto these things and posing them, getting inspiration from some of our favorite photographers, or some of my favorite photographers, fashion photographers, and seeing what the layouts look like with and without branding, to get to a point where I could actually then go back to the team and say, this is what I've been thinking about so far, and we've been discussing, and you've seen bits and pieces here and there, and you've helped out with bits and pieces here and there, but this is kind of the big crazy vision of this. The assets are ready. Open it up to the floor and let everyone sort of run with all of this and see what we can come up with. So there was a lot of studies that were done, like a lot of these were done by Robin, for example. Like what would happen if we take that character and put it in an environment and use the same sort of giga rig system? What would Poseidon all of a sudden look like if he was just backlit, in some sort of watery thing, because obviously Poseidon. And then we started to create on the side of that a small edit, throwing all the nice things that we were sort of coming out with, all the little sequences. And then as some of that stuff was coming out, then I got the enthusiasm again to start designing a few more things. So what would happen actually now, ultimately, with a grander vision? What would happen if we end up producing a pack of assets for a project that we could theoretically or hypothetically present to someone like Netflix, right? So we have heroes, we have designs, we have archetypes. So this character is called the ruler, that character is called the hunter, this character is called the warrior, and they sort of represent but are not necessarily identical to the Greek myths. And then also make a little film. And because once again, I'm going to name drop Robin, because as if he hadn't received enough credit here, he also created the soundtrack for the film, which is something that has basically made everything else that we made epic. And by the end of that, we ended up, posting the project on Behance, all the amount of crazy shit that we ended up doing for it. All the references, just one huge case study, and it went crazy viral. And through that, ultimately, we actually found that we improved our skills, gained confidence in this area. We're hungry and keen to do more, and we started coming through of similar things and things that don't necessarily relate to this, but are in different fields, like music and all that sort of stuff. I have a few examples here as well of some of the we probably needed to stop earlier, things that we created for it, but we also created toys and all the packaging and everything, making them authentic to G.I. Joe circa late 80s, early 90s, with all the right information, age ranges, warnings, and making customized packaging for every single one, using bespoke renders for every single character just because we could, making sure that there's dust and hairs and little things on the packaging of all the characters as well, just because we want to make sure that we're authentic as hell to, I don't know what really, but it made sense at the time. And what else did we make for this? But anyway, the point of that whole thing was for us to test ourselves as artists and see what we could ultimately do. And thanks to that now, I mean, a lot of people know, but we're actually doing the next version of the Old Gods. And one of the models that we actually gave out for the challenge is the new Zeus that we're using. So we did a big technological upgrade there. Let me show some stuff, I guess, from that one as well. Just very, very briefly before we actually get into the applications that we can actually do for people out there, just to see if they get some inspiration. So we've done posters, and we're going big and bold on these things now. So we sort of felt we mastered the sepia and sort of very, very contrasting and silhouetted nature of the last ones, and now we're going bold. We're going all out in terms of representation, big bold colors, dramatic posing, way more detail on each character, but once again driven by the exact same desire to kind of see how much we can push ourselves outside of our comfort zone. And you know what I mean, this is not a natural realm. Like none of us is a character artist or someone who opens up ZBrush and then sculpts all the details onto all these things and then throws it into a rigging program and then does very complex character animation. We've managed to do all that, but you know, through baby steps and using sort of alternative methods and I guess creativity, right? Creativity and the desire to kind of keep improving, keep growing as artists and creatives is what's driving this project. So I don't know what else you want me to add to this, but you know, everyone's thrown their sort of grain of sand into this, and there's different styles for different posters. Maria did this one, for example. You know, it's all about emotion at this stage and kind of, you know, acting, if you were, whereas before it was more about being figurative and having these sort of sustained, paused in time classical statues look. These are now actors, let's say. And
actually, I think it's a very good segue because, like, as I promised you, I was gonna stop you on the 15 minutes mark, and I think that, you know, what you just said, it's actually a very important thing that I want to remind our community and the people that join these challenges, because the whole idea of putting yourself in the situation to have to work with such models and trying to do something with it is the objective is for you to put yourself in a place where you haven't been before in terms of comfort, in terms of testing your own skills and testing your own abilities, and to get something going for yourself. Because I guess that the biggest takeaway from a project like this for you and the people working for you and your company is that you're actually capable of doing a lot more than you thought you could. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely. No, the doors have been blasted off in terms of how opportunities, basically.
I want to just give a shout out to the guys from the Commonpoint because they already did a breakdown, which I actually think was very interesting, because one of the big questions that people have is, how do you rig a character? How do you change it? And eventually, yeah, there is a way to do that and take the models and rig them and, you know, do the whole UV weights, you know, and do it correctly. But there is a lot of ways that you can cheat and play around and keep bash your way through it. And I don't think that, you know, it's the wrong way to approach this. Obviously, there are certain tasks where you cannot get away with that kind of approach. But, you know, we are asking people to create an image. We're asking people to work with models that usually they wouldn't work with, because our community is mainly architectural visualization and product design and you know, adjacent industries. And I do think that, you know, that tutorial alone, it's already a big form of inspiration. But you guys have already prepared a mood board with ideas that could actually be explored. And I want you, Luis, to again share your screen, maybe go through some of these ideas and we can discuss them, and maybe people can find a little bit of a you know, of a angle in which they can approach this challenge and maybe do a project for themselves. Let's just remind everybody that there is still a week to produce an image, and that's plenty of time nowadays with all the tools that we have available. Maybe some people have already done a project and they might find inspiration to do one more. Why not?
Very true. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about experimentation. I guess the purpose of this is also to show what worked for us originally in terms of inspiration, and like going from just statues to film to music to then toys and all that sort of stuff, but also just fucking go batshit crazy. Like there's a big opportunity. You can go, you can do the more traditional things, like, you know, do a movie poster. Cool. Like you can take the figures and pose them and everything, do the big people mountain. You can do the toys.
Luis, just a remark. Maybe some people are watching this as the first video and they might be wondering, okay, where do we get the models from? There is a link in the description of the video. There is also a link on our D2 conference page under the challenges. You'll find the Gods challenge. There are all the models made available from you guys at Narrativ. So, even if you don't want to take part in the competition because maybe you're shy, maybe you don't really know what to do right now, you don't have the time, go get the models because they're stunning, and do something with them.
I like that.
Isn't that amazing, the People Man toy?
Yeah.
With the little what is it called, this kind of bar, the
Tiki bar.
Kiki bar, yeah, exactly. The revenge of the everyday.
Retirement Mike.
He's got some little Crocs on.
Absolutely, that's the middle-aged dad look vibes on holiday American. Sorry to those Americans, I'm American as well, so I'm allowed to say it. But you know what I mean? It's like the cool thing about this is, or this board is, just go crazy. Just have fun. Just behead a character, throw it around. Robin did some really cool mid-journey stuff here as inspiration, for example. Like if you feel more comfortable locating whatever image, whatever composition you do within an architectural environment, you can still go batshit crazy, right? You can take the statues like this and just, do awesome stuff like this. Like, how awesome is that? How iconic even it kind of feels.
Also, if you can't, sometimes we just can't really think of a good idea, but I guess that's where, anything's possible in 3D, isn't it? So you can just start experimenting, like Louis said, cut a head off, or just do whatever, throw it in random scenes, and then something will spark at some point. You just kind of have to work in every direction and, kind of throw poo at the wall, basically,
Yeah.
So,
and stuff like this, like like given the play of scales and everything, like the Gods theme is still very, very applicable. It's still larger than life. It's still inspiring. It's still located as a statue. It's still a fixed pose or whatever. But the fact that you put very, very, very regular looking things that we're used to in daily life, and you juxtapose it or contrast it with these larger than life figures and these larger than life themes and whatever. You can do one of Robin's favorite things, which is the tech lords, where he just takes classical busts and things and just puts like cyberpunk shit around them, neon lights or just biomechanical stuff on them, and he makes the most insane stuff. If Robin, if you can send me a link to the Behance of the neon gods that you did as well, so I can open that as well as a reference. Why not?
Well, it's on our Behance. It's on
you can.
I don't know if there is a lot of inspiration in this, but okay.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like it's off. It's literally off the wall, balls to the wall. You just go crazy. You can,
and that's how we get banned.
Absolutely, that's how we get demonetized. Stuff like this as well. These sort of like absolutely beautiful Soviet abandoned structures. They still have this sort of aura of contemplation and grandeur. The contrast of nature. Also, one of the things I particularly love about these that I'd like to see, I guess people sort of bring in is like, apart from just doing compositions and the idea and everything, it's like, think about this as being perhaps photography and the quality of grain, the quality of like fucking up the frame a little bit that photography has, right? It's not that pristine rendered look. To try to put yourself in a headspace where you go out of your comfort zone once again in that arena, just a bit more compositing in some ways, maybe do some of it with photo montaging, and then just have your little 3D god there. But if the end result is something that's awe-inspiring to us and like really, really gets the creative juices flowing, doesn't necessarily matter. At the end of the day, now we're using 3D and stuff, but before we used to do this with collaging, right? Taking magazine things, and in design, you just put things on a big cardboard thing and photographed it afterwards. What else do we have around here? Abbey Road Gods, Jose did. What would happen if you just reproduce? Once again, it depends on the limitations of the assets you have, but it's just to give people something to think about. It could be silly, it could be literally within the theme of the universe that we created. It could be a room, as Fabio keeps mentioning, a room of a child or whatever, or a man child who's in his mid 40s and he's a collector, and he has the action figures of when he grew up of the old gods.
I sense a little bit of judgment in your words, Luis.
Hey, takes one to know one, my friend. Let me just show you the geek realm right there.
No, but you're totally right. I think that the juxtaposition of things that might be not expected, like you put the gods on Abbey Road. What is it that you're thinking? That's crazy. Awesome.
You can do more traditional representation, which is still amazing, because at the end of the day, it's seeing how light and shadow and composition and that treatment is handled. Here it is, the man cave,
Mm-hmm.
the nerd cave, smell of basement not included. Stuff like this, more Dune-like things. Like look at the scale of this figure right here. That's the human shape right there, and then everything else is just absolutely colossal. And even if the meshes or the models aren't necessarily as detailed, then it comes to the shading work that you do, right? The materials, the displacement, whatever it is that you choose. The idea, make it epic, make it silly. Once again, very, very figurative, but very beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
And then you can just be like Beeple and just do stupid shit, but somehow it sticks.
I guess the bottom line is that we don't want people to have to deal with limitations that don't really exist. Like we want people to really come up with whatever idea that they have and just ride with it.
Yeah.
If this project in the future really is going to become, say, a Netflix blockbuster, okay, then we can actually build on that story and use the inspiration of any sort of like project that people are going to make, to create sort of like an expanded cosmos where this project exists. And so again,
Yeah.
take the freedom to do whatever you want. The only limitation that we're giving people is that they have to use the models, meaning these mid-journey sketches are okay, a very good place to start, and you can photo bash things. We don't really mind, but we do want to see the original models being used, because that's also the challenge. Those, they represent sort of like the limitation with which you have to work with. Just use them and have fun.
Yeah.
That's a good set of constraints for sure. Because at the end of the day, keeping it open ended, and you do your imagination is the limit, and that gets real scary real fast.
But there is another challenge that we did a few years back, which was based on Star Wars, because there is a lot of fans of Star Wars. And actually, the idea is that I would really like to use this project, for people to use this project in the same way as the Star Wars universe. Just take the characters and then ride with whatever wild idea you might have and come up with better stories, different stories, and have fun in the process and create something amazing for your portfolio. And whoever is going to win this challenge, they're gonna get a free ticket to the D2, which is amazing, because then you'll get the chance to come to Vienna and have fun with us for 3 days. And it's going to be an amazing event. The guys from the Commonpoint are actually going to host a talk on stage, and also they're going to be hosting with me the modeling battle, which tradition wants is probably the most important event in the field of 3D in the world. At least it's when people are the most drunk.
Absolutely.
Boys,
Well-
am I forgetting anything? Did we say everything that we wanted to say? Bart, Arthur, are we forgetting anything? Luis?
Closer to the date, we can agree sort of off camera and everything, because I'd also like to give something to some of the winners as well.
Okay,
from us.
brilliant. We don't have to say anything right now. We can, once we have it, we have something more concrete, we can...
Exactly. People who've used the gods, because for us is actually a privilege and an inspiration to see what everyone is coming up with. Like we're
beautiful, right? That people take your work and they just create something. And we have already seen people posting images in on Instagram. Actually, if you follow the D2 page, you'll see people posting the artwork. We reshare it. It is amazing. Like, people really do take it to the extent of like creating their own stories. Sometimes the stories are completely detached to what somebody might think of when mentioning the gods, and it's just fantastic to me.
Yeah, we've been reposting like crazy. Whenever we sort of get one, then we just share it with everyone so they can see what people are doing, and they may gain new followers as well from this, gain their own exposure apart from the actual main show.
Yeah, plus we get to see the gods in some aspect or in a way we haven't seen them before. I haven't thought of it being possible. So yeah, use them as your canvas and blow us away with your ideas basically again.
I'm not gonna name any names, but I've already seen like a race car and the gods in the background and stuff like that, which was kind of cool. I think that was the first one that sort of crept in from the woods. It made itself shown to the world.
All right, I guess that this is everything that we wanted to share in today's video. The deadline for the submission is the 25th of June. On the 27th, we're going to have the live stream. Unless something is going to change, scheduling conflicts and whatnot. But for now, we seem to be on the right track. Guys, I just want to thank you again for taking the time, for spending a little bit of time.
Puppy time.
Exactly.
Being annoying.
Real star.
This is what's gonna get the attention of people now.
Clickbait.
Exactly. Yeah, but thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks a lot to the Commonpoint and Narrativ for jumping on the stream in so last minute notice.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna stop the stream unless you guys want to say anything else. Otherwise, don't go anywhere so that I can say goodbye one more time. And I guess I will see you again on the 27th for the live stream.
Looking forward.
Well, the only thing I can say is some of the stuff that's coming out is very inspirational. Well, not some of the stuff. The stuff that's coming out is very inspirational. So keep going. Keep fucking losing your minds making these things, because they're really cool. That's it. That's me.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Good luck with the challenge. And if you need any information, all the links are in the description. Otherwise, write us a message on Instagram. We'll try to help you out. But everything should be smooth sailing. Good night, everybody.